Hey, what's up everyone? We will continue with the batch scripting course. So the last time we talked about if statements and redirections and some variables. In this video, we will talk about functions. But before we do that, we need to talk a little bit about segments of code segments or code blocks or whatever you call it. So what does it mean a segment code or code block or you know so it means that what if you want to create some like a bunch of a chunk of code and you just want to give it a name and then you can call that name later, right? So let's say I want to create some code here, echo hello, right? Pause. This is just a normal code, just 2 lines. But now I want to give this 2 lines a name. So you come here before echo, you do colon and then the name. Maybe we'll just say first underscore block. So those 2 lines is under a block called first block. We come here, down here, we create another block. We can just call it second underscore block. And then echo world. So we can pause it here. So what will happen here if you execute it? If you execute this script, it will come here to this block and do the echo hello, and then it will find the pause and then it will stop. It won't go any further than that. Why? Because the pause, you just paused it. But we want it to continue and jump from this block to this one, right? So what if, let's just try and put something in between here. Echo, maybe just stuff. And then we execute the script. Notice that it only executed the hello, right? Nothing else after that because we pause it here. But what if I just want to jump from here to here? We can do that by typing go to and then the name of your block, second underscore block. Be careful, because when you're calling a segment of code, you do the go to with just the name. But we will talk about functions later. When you want to call a function, you do the call, not the go to. You do the call and you put the entire name with the colon, not just the name. So here, let's just test it. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's just execute it again. Hello and then world, right? That's good. So the code block is just something simple because we want to take functions later, so we need to understand how it works first. So functions, how do you deal with functions? It's the same thing, but we're going to change some code here. So let's just call this function return underscore function. Note, so a function, like any other programming language, you can call a function by just call the function and then everything inside the function will be executed. Or the function has a variable and you want to return that variable and use it somewhere else. Maybe use it in another variable, another function, or maybe whatever. You just want to use the variables inside this function. We call it return value. Or you want to do the other way around. You just want to call the function and pass some parameters to it. Like a function, you just give it some numbers as a parameters and the function take those parameters and then do something with them. Anyway, we will get to that. First, we say return function, and then now we use the set command from, from video number 2 or 3, I don't remember. And then the set is used to define variable, create variable. But this time, we're not going to use a normal name for variable, like name equal nix, for instance. This is a normal variable. Set name equal nix, so we have a variable called name, and the value of this variable is nix, right? But here we are dealing with argument. So I'm just going to create the first argument with the percent sign and then tilde and then number 1. This is the first argument. So the second argument will be number 2. I mean, same thing, of course, but number 2 and then number 3 and so on. So after we do that, put the equal sign. We want the first argument to be equal to nix. Now we will create another variable with the argument thing, of course. So percent sign tilde number 2 equal pal. We can pause it here, it doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to pause it. But notice something. If you save the script like this, what will happen? We can just pause it here and see what will happen. Run the script. The syntax of the command is incorrect. Why? Because you can't use it like that. It's, incomplete. Your script itself is incomplete. You created a function, but you didn't call it. So let's go up here and call this function. We do call, and then the name of the function, all of it with the colon, this one here, return underscore function, and then space. Now we want to take those arguments, number 1 and number 2. We want to return them and take their values and use it here in this line, the second line. So what we do here, after we call the function and then space, and then we define variable here for the first argument. This is the first argument. We put maybe value 1, comma, and then value 2. So value 1 here will equal the argument number 1, and value 2 will equal argument number 2. Of course, the value of argument number 2, so it'll be val 1 will be nix, val 2 will be pal. Now we can actually use value number 1 and value number 2 here. We can do echo value number 1 is, and use the normal variable like from the like the previous videos, val1 percent echo value number 2 is, pause it. Let's try and run this script. Oh, nothing happened. Why? Because the pause here. We paused it after we create the function. Alright? So value number 1 is nix, value number 2 is pal. So now we actually returned a value from a function here and we used it here. Alright. Let's pass parameters to this function. So the function, we will create a function, but it doesn't have any values, doesn't have any variables. We will give the function a value, a variable to use. They call it a passing argument. Okay, so this is how they call it. All right, same thing here, and everything is the same. Call return function val1, val2, and here we're not using the equal sign because you use the equal sign if you want to assign it to something, but we're not doing that now. We will just say And of course, we're not using the set because we're not assigning anything to anything. So let's actually say echo param1 is, and then a %1 tilde 1 echo param2 is %2. So here, if you call this function will expect you to pass some parameters to be executed. Otherwise, it's just empty, you know? So if we delete this one, put a pause here. Oh. And try to execute it, we'll just param1 is nothing, just empty and empty, because you didn't pass anything. So let's actually pass something. Let's say call return function space, and then we give it argument number 1 and argument number 2, the actual value of argument number 1 and number 2. So maybe 10 and 50. So we just type 10 and then comma and then 50. Those will be the values that will be passed to this function and will be executed here. This is 1 means this one, number 10, and this is parameter number 2 will be this one. Here we just say, yep, that's it. Let's just try it now. So, oh, we missed the, so I was saying that you have to use over and it didn't. Call return function. Yep, okay. And then we pause it here because we don't want it to go any further. We remove this one. Param1 is 10, param2 is 50. See? So we passed number 10 to parameter number 1 here. We passed number 50 to parameter number or argument, let's just say argument. We passed 10 to argument number 1, and we passed 50 to argument number 2. It's easy, right? So how do you use functions? It's up to you. I mean, sometimes you want to set a variable. You don't want your code to be under like 100 lines. This is what they do. Like if you're writing 100 lines of code or something, it just doesn't look that good. You need to split it into functions to be easier to control later. This function is doing this thing and this function is doing something else. So later when you want to review your code or someone else will want to review your code, it's easier to fix problems if you have just a chunk of codes or functions, right? All right, that was it with this video. We will continue with the next one. See you.